Well, welcome to Growth Secrets. I'm really excited about this one. This is going to be an absolute game changer for anyone that's tuning in right now. If you are logged in right now, can I just get you to do me a favor? Before we get started, if you're watching this live, can you just write in the comments live so that we can see who you are and see those comments and address you as we go on. If you are tuning into this as a replay, then I'd love for you to say replay in the chat as well. Now, today is jam-packed. I'm not going to talk for much longer. We've got a massive lineup. We've got Hugh Grover about to kick us off. That will be followed by Michael McQueen, who is incredible, followed by Laura Higgins, who's incredible, followed by Matt Purcell, who's incredible, followed by me, who's incredible. No, I'm really pumped about this. And so if you are watching live, I can see Mel, Malcolm, welcome, Laurie, welcome, Nick Brown, welcome. This is going to be huge. So before we kick off, I'm just going to introduce Hugh, read his little bio, and then I'm going to get him on the screen. And have a little chat before we get in. And so Hugh, he's the founder of and VP of sales for DSC Sales System. And for over the last 10 years, Hugh has been a top 1% revenue generator for a Fortune 100 company. He supported a team of over 96 salespeople and acquired $300 million in revenue per annum, which is just insane. Plus, he's also grown a multi-million-dollar retail business as well as the fastest growing networking club across Australasia. Hugh's team now works with some of the most successful businesses on the planet to help generate more leads, sales, and results all the way through client acquisition model, all through his client acquisition model he's about to share with you today. So I'm just going to welcome to the stage Mr. Hugh Grover. Welcome, mate.
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so stoked you're here. I am not only stoked to get to see you in my community and see what you're doing and be encouraged by that, but I also love that I get to call you a friend in all of this. And so, mate, the floor is yours. I'm going to disappear into the backstage, virtual backstage. Go well. Much love.
Let's win more. Hi, guys. So today I'm going to share with you the exact client acquisition model that Fortune 500 blue chip and fast scaling businesses are implementing right now. So if you're a C-suite executive or business owner, welcome, you're in the right place. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, will these strategies help me and my team sell more? I can guarantee you this. If implemented, you'll generate more leads, sales, and results than you could ever imagine. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, let me share with you the biggest problem your business is facing right now. I don't care whether you're turning over $2 million or $2 billion. Every business to some degree is experiencing this. And let me make a disclaimer, how I help businesses the most are B2B businesses. You'll see on our website afterwards that we do work with some B2C clients, but 90% of the clients that we work with are B2B. So if you're a B2B business, take notes. This is going to be extremely valuable for you and your team. So the biggest problem that your business is facing right now, let me share it with you. This will shock you. According to the largest aggregator of data, 2/3 of your salespeople's time is spent on non-revenue generating activity. 2/3 of your salespeople's time is spent on non-revenue generating activity. That includes checking LinkedIn or watching webinars like this. Again, these are great for learning, but it's not actually bringing revenue into your business right now. They're prospecting, they're generating lead lists manually, they're verifying data, they're writing sales scripts, they're emailing, they're in meetings, they're in coffee catch-ups, then they're probably in more coffee catch-ups, then they're having lunch, then they're having another coffee catch-up. That means only 1/3 of their time is spent on revenue generating activity. However, the equation gets scarier. Out of the 1/3 of the time your sales team is doing the following activity: attempting to get through to a decision maker, leaving voicemail messages that 90% of the time will never respond, or speaking to prospects who aren't even qualified. We live in the 21st century. This should not be a thing. If it is, you've got a broken acquisition model. This is not your salespeople's fault. It's a broken acquisition model. If you don't have the right systems in place, you can never compete at the highest level. And if you actually ask ChatGPT this question, what's the chance of a business surviving if they don't have a B2B lead generation system in place? And over a 10-year period, ChatGPT will say that you have a 10% chance of surviving. And that's if you do it effectively. So I'm about to share with you how to find your dream clients and get them flooding into your business. So before I share that with you, to make matters worse, all marketing leads are looking like this right now. Let's just say your marketing team generates you 100 leads, as an example. These are the stats now across nearly every industry. Out of the 100 leads that come through, think about this, out of the 100 leads that come through, and I'm sure a lot of marketers, as we go on and salespeople will nod their heads, 20% of the leads have incorrect information or have completed a form at 2 a.m. in the morning. We all know those types of prospects, and they have no real intent on purchasing. Another 40% can't even afford your offering. Then finally, there's 20% of prospects that are warm and open to having a conversation, but have small budgets and need a couple of follow-up calls to be convinced to potentially buy your offer. Then finally, if you're lucky, there'll be roughly 10 to 20% of prospects that are blue chip or marquee clients that have healthy budgets and can afford your service. They also require the least amount of touch points, and if serviced correctly, will be clients for life, whilst referring you tons of business. So let's make sense of it. Not only are your sales team spending only 33% of their time selling, they're also spending 60% of their time selling to businesses that can't afford your offer. 60% of their time selling to businesses that can't afford your offer. Meaning that your sales team is actually, listen to this. This is an industry standard across nearly every industry globally, meaning that your sales team is actually spending only 15%, spending 50% of their time speaking to people that they can actually help. Think about this for a second. This is a broken acquisition model. Now it's about to get a lot worse. Why? Rising interest rates, cost of living increasing, Middle East conflict, the US election now only a couple of weeks away. Consumer sentiment in the next couple of months is going to get very tentative, which means this. More businesses are worried about how to survive, let alone thrive. So what happens? More businesses inquire about your offer, hoping you may be the silver bullet to all their problems. However, these businesses are the ones that are feeling the pain the most, have the least discretionary income, and are probably what your sales team labels on private WhatsApp channels as tire kickers, right? So what happens? Sales people stop trusting marketing leads and start doing more prospecting themselves, which means even less time selling and more time on non-revenue generating activity. They feel busy, but it's not turning the lever on revenue. Now, can we pause for a second? Do you think that this is an efficient way to acquire more customers? This couldn't be any more inefficient if you tried, resulting in frustrated marketing teams that are working their ass off, salespeople who are spending the majority of their time doing admin work and are not maximizing commission, and sales directors frustrated, not knowing what to do next. Now, clearly, this is the opposite of a client acquisition model. This is a broken model that is resulting in high sales attrition, frustrated marketing teams, and sales directors who are finding it harder and harder to hit their number, let alone overachieve. I can imagine a lot of you nodding your heads right now behind the screens, right? because this is the sad truth. The majority of businesses are hitting these roadblocks. This is what I call the old school way of client acquisition. Labor intensive, tedious, and resulting in limited growth. Now, I'm not sure about you, but being a father, a husband, and being responsible for a team of people and clients, plus knowing we're on this earth for a vapor in time, I want to maximize every opportunity. Near enough is not good enough. And I know you agree, that's why you're joining us on this webinar, Growth Secrets, today. So you're probably wondering, Hugh, like how can you help us with this? I'm about to share with you the 7-step acquisition model. This 7-step acquisition model I'm about to share with you is the reason we're on track to be valued at a $100 million business in the next 5 years. It's the reason our clients have doubled, tripled, and in some cases 5x their business in 24 months or less, because they know how to acquire on autopilot, meaning happier sales and marketing teams and better business outcomes. That's what success looks like. So let's get into it. Let me share with you the 7-step acquisition model with you right now. Step number 1, get your pen and paper ready to write this down, or if you're a bit more old school inclined, if you're a bit more tech inclined, type it on a computer, that probably makes sense. Step number 1, you need to identify who your target audience is. Now, what do I mean by this? There'll be 20% of your clients at the moment that generate 80% of your revenue. The old classic 80-20 rule, right? You want to profile these companies, understand them deeply. You want to understand what industry they're in, who are the key decision makers, what geography, country, state, city they're in, the size of the business employee headcount, and the size of the business in terms of revenue. You want to understand your top 20% of customers so intimately, then go after them. Now, when you visit our website after this, the dcsalesystem.com, you'll see that we have testimonies from Fortune 500 companies through to BIW fast starters that have achieved insane results from working with us. Why? Because the first thing we do is ensure they're targeting more of their dream clients. Think about this. All you need to do is find the 20% of your clients that generate you the most revenue and double this number, and you have increased your sales by 100%. It's that simple. This is about working smarter, not harder. Doing less well, not more. So you're thinking, okay, great. We know that we need to implement the 80-20 rule. This is amazing. Now, how do we actually find these dream clients? Here's step 2. Now that you know exactly the profile of your dream clients, including industry, geography, key decision makers, revenue size, employee headcount, this is what you need to do next. We use 5 tools to help our clients find the highest quality B2B leads. So these are the top 5 tools. 1, Zoom Info. 2, Contact Out. 3, Apollo. 4, LinkedIn Navigator. And 5, Lusher. So them again, Zoom Info, Contact Out, Apollo, LinkedIn Navigator, and Lusher. These tools will allow you to gain access to all the fields you need to find your dream clients. Now, you may be wondering if you need all 5. The answer is unfortunately yes. Why? Because some platforms won't have the most relevant or up-to-date data. Good data ensures better results. Plus, if you don't get the right data and you end up doing cold outreach campaigns, you get continued bounce back, which will massively impact you and your company's domain, meaning more messages in spam, which is obviously not a good thing. That is why you must have the stack of all 5. So that's how you find your dream clients. Step 3, you want to reach out to them via 5 different modalities. Now, what I'm about to share with you is an absolute game changer. And if you're finding this valuable so far, hit the like button now. If you find this valuable, hit the like button now or comment win more. If you like this content, you want more of it, hit the like button or type win more in the comment section now. So this is step 3. We help our clients get insane results because we're not attached to one modality to generate sales on autopilot for our clients. We use the best modality to generate sales. The reason your current provider, your B2B lead provider, doesn't get you in front of enough of your dream clients is because they're platform biased. They might generate leads via Meta or Google or SEO. They sell you on their one modality for reaching clients, where we focus on holistically generating you more clients regardless of the modality. Meaning we're not tied to using one platform over another. We simply do what works best for you. So here we go. Let me show you the top 5 modalities you must use. 1, targeted email. 2, LinkedIn messaging. 3, SMS. Adrian will be nodding his head to this one. 4, AI, voice memo and video. And 5, direct post. And actually, there's a 6. This is a bonus. You want to use a website retargeting tool that allows you to proactively message anyone that is looking at your website. This is a game changer for sales and marketing teams. So once you're getting all of these ideal clients hitting your website, there is actually a tool for you to be able to see who's visited your website, including their name, their email address, and their phone number, so you can reach out to them instantly. So this is an absolute game changer for not just generating a huge amount of interest, but actually converting that interest into sales meetings, into initial appointments. Now, you may be wondering, do I need to use all 5 of these modalities? The answer is no, but you do need to test and see what ones work for you. I would suggest using at least 3 to 4. Why? Because you want to diversify your efforts. Get real-time feedback, then double down on the ones that work best for you. You want to test and iterate like crazy. Now, unfortunately, in today's webinar, I don't have time to share with you how to use each modality to the full extent. However, let's go to step 4 and let me share with you what's most important when using these modalities. I'm going for time. Cool. And also shout out to the people on Instagram Live that we're on Instagram Live now as well. Great to see you guys. Great to have you here. That's why I keep looking to the right. Step 4, the most important thing is to write unbelievably good sales copy. Now, for the heads of marketing listening in, listen to me really closely. The biggest mistake I see marketing teams make is they use copy that works really well for ad campaigns or EDM campaigns to a warm audience. However, when they use these same tactics to a cold audience, the results fall flat, which is the reason most marketing teams steer clear of the strategies I've just shared with you, honestly speaking, because they don't know how to do it. This is foreign to them. The sales copy has to have 4 key ingredients. Now, guys, this is an absolute game changer to your business. These are the 4 key ingredients for unbelievably good sales copy. 1, needs to be non-salesy. What does that mean? No stories about how great you are. No messaging around how you think the company is amazing that you want to work with, or what I like to call false flattery. And certainly no emphatic language. This makes people run away. You push them away opposed to pull them in. And this is clearly not a good thing. 2, you need to create huge amounts of curiosity. When you create so much curiosity where they're like, oh, you've talked about a problem and I've had that problem in my business for so long, but you haven't told me exactly how you solve it. This is how you get people to lean in and want to find more. Sell the problem you help them solve and dive deep into their pain points. People are more likely to run away from pain than they are towards pleasure. You could talk to a client about how you can increase sales by 200%, or you could rebrand their website to help them get more visibility. At the end of the day, these clients don't care. They get pitched like this all the day. You need to talk to specific pain points and dig the knife in so that they feel the pain to want to have a conversation with you. 3, short and sharp. And this is how wealthy, yes, I said wealthy. This is how wealthy billionaires and seriously wealthy people communicate. Short and sharp because they're time poor. And sorry, let me say that again. Short and sharp is how wealthy, time poor, and serious people communicate. Biblical essays are how desperate businesses communicate. Make your comms short, sharp, and clear. And 4, this is a game changer. Before you even read the copy, the first thing your mind does is look at the format of the text and how it flows. Your brain doesn't even need to read the copy to know whether it's spam or whether it's personal. You need to geek out over the beauty of how your text looks, including typography, text size, no words hanging off the end of sentences. It has to be meticulous. I pay a copywriting coach $1,500 USD a month, so for an hour of their time to get these tips and tricks. They work with Apple, they work with Marriott Bonvoy, and this is what we implement with our clients in their businesses. One mistake, one salesy word results in prospects assuming this is spam. When it comes to cold outreach, and Adrian can attest to this, every touch point matters. Not kind of, every touch point matters. There is no margin for error, ever. Step 5. Step 5, you need to automate all of this. And guys, I hope you're finding this valuable. This is an absolute game changer to your business. When you go to our website afterwards and you see the ridiculous testimonies, you're also going to be hit with a whole bunch of retargeting ads with even more testimonies from our clients, is because we get the fundamentals right. And when you get the fundamentals right, amazing things happen. So I'm going to share with you step 5. Step 5, you need to automate all of this. Here are the 4 tools you need. And before we do, on LinkedIn Live, great to see you guys. On Instagram, great to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Here are the 4 tools you need. 1, Sales Loft AI. 2, an implementer, being a project manager, virtual assistant. 3, Zapier. And 4, simple texting. These are the 4 tools you must need. You need, not must need, you need. The only thing you can't automate, unfortunately, is great sales copy. We've tested and iterated like crazy using nearly every platform. AI generated sales copy for now sucks. We've used ChatGPT 4. It's good, but it's not quite there. And the other thing, think about this, is if you use ChatGPT to write copy, it's doing the same copy for everyone. So for now, there is no good copywriting tool for AI. So you need to engage someone. But however, if you do want to try sales copy, there is a company that does it. It's called Lavender AI. That's platform, write it down, Lavender AI. And they do help you write better outbound sales copy if you want an intermediate solution. Step 6. Now, this is my favorite step and how we help our clients crush it the most. Follow up. We are freaks when it comes to follow up. According to Forbes, the average consumer now receives 10,000 plus ads every single day. So to break through the noise, you must follow up. These are 4 tips for follow up that convert like crazy. 1, most people get desperate with their follow up attempts. They start sending through testimonies, case studies, and guess what happens? You push the prospect further and further away because you're selling to these people that don't know you from a bar of soap, meaning they see you as one-dimensional and salesy, and no one wants to respond to that person. Trust me. 2, frequency is key. You want to follow up at least 3 to 4 times in less than 7 days. This tip alone is a game changer. 3, follow-up messages must get shorter, not longer. And 4, follow-up messages are best sent towards the end of the week. Why? It's scientifically proven that people are more passive at the end of the week because they're lethargic, they're tired, they've had a big week. So they're more likely to respond. At 3 p.m. on a Thursday, they're doom scrolling on LinkedIn. They're watching webinars like this, and an email comes in. They go, you know what? Maybe I might explore that opportunity. So follow up towards the end of the week, and even Sundays is incredible. Step number 7. We're nearly there. How cool is this? You're about to have the entire sequence in terms of how to scale your business like crazy. As I said, whether you're $1 billion business or your business only turns over $2 or $3 million, this is going to drastically help you, especially if you're a B2B business. We have identified, so this is what we've done so far. We've identified how to double the size of your business by targeting your dream clients. All you need to do is double the 20% of your clients that produce 80% of your revenue. 2, I've shared with you the exact platforms you must use to find high value leads. 3, I've shared with you the 5 best modalities to reach out to your dream clients. 4, I've shared with you how to write sales copy that converts like crazy. I've shared with you how to automate this entire process. And 6, I've shared with you the secrets to follow up the right way. Now, come on, how cool is this? So you're probably wondering, what is the final step to the client acquisition model? Well, let me share it with you now. And again, if you're finding this valuable, hit the like section. And same with you guys on IG Live, hit the like section. Step number 7, test and iterate like crazy. This is what you want to track. Just bear with me 2 secs. And see, we've got some people on live. We've got Simon on live. We've got Carlos on live. We've got Sunny. We've got Rashid. Great to see you guys. Great to see you guys. Someone said no weekends. I love that. I'm going to hit you up on a weekend with our outreach. So step number 7, these are the 4 things you must track and A/B test. What platforms work best for you? 2, what sales copy converts the best and for what industry? 3, what days and times work best for outreach? And 4, what time works best for you to follow up? And a bonus tip, you want to create a custom ChatGPT 4 prompt that allows you to receive real-time feedback about exactly how your campaigns are performing and what needs to be optimized. The data doesn't lie. Once you find out what works best for you, you want to double down even harder. However, continue to test and iterate like crazy. So you're probably thinking right now, to generate sales on autopilot, I just need to simply implement the system I've learned today. This will help our sales team speak to more of our dream clients and result in even more sales for the business. However, you're probably thinking, shit, I don't have the time to learn how all these tools work together. In fact, if I try and learn how all these tools work, I'm going to spend less time on non-revenue generating activity, and our business is actually going to shrink opposed to grow. So you're thinking, I don't have time to test and iterate like crazy. I just want Hugh's team to do it for me. You're thinking, I've received a huge amount of value from this webinar. I've seen Hugh's track records or heard it from Adrian and have seen all of the testimonies on the website. I just want the results. If this is you, listen to me really closely. If you're head of marketing, sales, partnership, or founder, this is how we can help you. The first thing I want you to do post this webinar is visit the DSC sales system and book a call with us. On that call, we'll unpack with you exactly how we can help you, what results you can typically expect from working with us, and we'll share with you exactly how we can help you find your dream clients and book them in your sales team's calendar for you, ensuring your sales team never needs to waste another second on non-revenue generating activity, resulting in less stress and more sales for you and your business. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the client acquisition model, generating you more sales, leads, and results than you could ever imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing how we can help you and your business. Let's win more. Adrian, back to you in the studio.
Hello, mate. Well done. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
You can hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Very good. Hey, you spoke about this process. I mean, my company's been through this, and it's incredible. Your team's wonderful. Where can they go to find you? Obviously, on LinkedIn, you'll be commenting.
Yeah.
Where can they go for the DSC sales
I
system?
thought I already did a shameless plug that was that overt that I thought you were going to pull me up on
You
it. So,
no,
so, so if they can't find me on the DSC Sales System website to connect with me personally, on LinkedIn is probably the best platform, or we are streaming live on IG. Those two platforms would be awesome.
awesome. Mate, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time and all that you do in a busy schedule. Yep, stick around. We'll be hearing from Michael next, who I'll get up in a second. But yeah, huge value. The 7 steps that you need to do. It'll be on replay too. So if you want to go back and listen to what Hugh has shared, because he just dropped a whole lot of fire and a lot of tips that's going to help you. And so if you're wanting to find out exactly what you need to do, go back and look at the replay after this. Hugh, you're a good man. Thanks
Thank you,
so
mate.
much. I'm going to drop you off, and then I'm going to bring in my good friend, Mr. Michael McQueen, in one moment. Now, just in the comments, if you're still with us, there's going to be people coming and going throughout the afternoon because it is a long one. We've got a lot to get through. And so I just want to hear one of the tips. What is one thing that you heard from Hugh that you just thought, wow, I haven't heard that? Whether it's a platform, whether it's a strategy, what is one thing that really stood out to you during that talk? I would love to see that pop up on the screen. Let's see. Loving it. I've never used this before. Loving it. Oh yeah, Sony. Love the 6th Suggestion website. That tool is incredible. That was me actually. Win more. Let's go. Can't wait. Live. Someone saying I will be blocking out weekends. That's understandable. Follow-ups at the end of the week. Yeah, that's a great tip as well. So on to our next speaker, one who I also get to call a close friend. You'll find that all of these speakers are actually just close friends. So we've just called in some favors. Now, Michael McQueen is up next. Michael McQueen understands what it takes to thrive in a rapidly evolving world. Widely recognized for having his finger on the pulse of business and of culture, he has helped some of the world's best-known brands navigate change and stay ahead of the curve. Now, Michael is a best-selling author of 10 books, would you believe, and features regularly as a commentator on TV and radio. And his work is featured in publications ranging from The Guardian to Forbes and CNN. Now, this is a stat that's just wild. Michael has presented to over 500,000 people across 5 continents since 2004. I see his travel, and sometimes I think that those 500,000 is just within the week, the amount of travel he does. Now, Michael is a familiar face on the international conference circuit, having shared the stage with the likes of Bill Gates, Mel Robbins, and Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. Let's welcome Mr. Michael McQueen up to the stage. Hello, mate.
Hello. How are you?
I'm so good. Hey, thanks for joining us today and
Pleasure.
sharing.
You sound a lot better
with
than I
us.
expected you would be. When I got your text message at like 8 o'clock last night saying you'd lost your voice, I thought we may have one of your AI bots delivering your content today, but it actually sounds like you.
It is me, but I definitely have cloned my voice, which you've heard many times. No, it's doing a bit better. I do sound nasally, so apologies, everyone. Michael, the stage is yours. I just want to say I'm really pumped to hear this because, I mean, your bio says it all. But as a close mate, I know the work that you put into preparing for all of that, what you say and deliver, and so I'm really pumped for this. So the stage is all yours, mate. I'm going to drop off. Go well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, we've got about 20 minutes in this session now, and I want to leave some time for Q&A at the end. We'll also use the comment thread as Hugh just did as well. So I'm going to get a bit of interaction as we go along. So just make sure you've got that handy if you are dialing in live. But we are going to spend this 20 minutes or so looking at what the things coming for all of us are, like what the next sort of 5 to 10 years. I never go far beyond 10 years at the moment. The pace of change is so great that I think going beyond 10 is a little bit ludicrous. But what's coming over the next few years, and what does that mean for all of us in business in terms of strategically thinking, getting our teams ready, but more importantly for us, getting ourselves ready for the stuff that's coming so we can win in the coming few years. So just to get our heads in the zone to think about the future and the things that are coming, I want to have a bit of fun with you this afternoon. We're going to play a quick game. This is a game that I'm going to call Bizarre Trends Trivia. So, okay, if you're a bit of a trivia night buff, you'll be well placed in the next few minutes. Okay, I'm going to ask you a trivia question relating to something that's been in the technology news cycle earlier this year. And I wonder how many of you are paying attention. You may have heard this story when it hit the headlines. But here's the trivia question I want to kick off with this afternoon. What did Burger King recently use biometric tech or facial recognition technology to figure out about their customers? Okay, there'll be multiple choice, say A, B, C, or D. I'm going to give you 4 options. Jump into the chat thread or the comment thread and just put an A, a B, a C, or a D into that thread. And here are your options. Was it how hungry their customers were? Was it B, how old their customers were? Was it C, how wealthy they were? Or was it D, how hungover their customers were? So jump into the comment thread. A, B, C, or D. What are your guesses? I'll give you a few moments to do that. A, B, C, or D. It's interesting, we've got only a couple of votes so far. A few of you have got it right. Now, interestingly, most people get this wrong because the one that is the correct answer you may not expect, okay, and the correct answer is actually D, how hungover you were. So here's how it worked. You'd go into the store, you'd look into a screen, it would use, again, facial recognition tech to figure this out, or you'd load a photo into the app, and it would figure out at that exact moment just how dusty you were and give you a discount on your meal based on how badly they thought you needed that greasy meal at that exact moment. And beyond rewarding bad behavior, I think what an example like this shows is just how fast this sort of technology is moving. I mean, any of you that have flown back from the US in the last little while, and flying back to and from Australia and the US, I do quite often. I've noticed in the last few months how many of the airlines now, when you get on the plane, there's no boarding pass. There's no need for your passport. You go up, you look at a screen, it identifies you using biometric tech, and you walk straight onto the flight. And that's really happened fairly recently. But it's not just humans that are being sort of subjected to this technology. Even in the animal world, this is happening. So I was in New Zealand a little while back, working with a group of farming leaders over in New Zealand in the ag sector. They were telling me how many farms right now are using facial recognition technology on cattle to monitor cattle as they roam around properties right now. So they know at any given moment exactly where their cattle are up to. And so when you think about the scale of this technology, and again, how fast it is moving, the question is, what does this mean for us practically? What does it mean for our businesses strategically? Of course, the question for a lot of people right now is, what does this mean for jobs? How many jobs will things like AI supplant or fundamentally change over the next few years, which is a big question for everyone right now. One of the interesting things that I'm grappling with as I'm working with clients is some of the ethical implications of using some of these tools. In fact, this next little AI tool, I still haven't decided whether I think it's really cool or just incredibly creepy. And I reckon it could go either way, and it would fit in really well to one of the steps, probably step 2 or step 3 of what Hugh just shared in terms of his sales funnel. But it's a tool I first came across a couple of years ago in the HR and recruitment world, because companies were using this as a pre-screening tool for new hires coming into their businesses. But in the last couple of years, I've seen a lot of organizations using this in a very different way, particularly in an outbound sales capacity, but also seeing managers and leaders using this tool for people in their teams if there's like a bit of a block. You can't quite get through to that person. Maybe there's a bit of stubbornness involved, how to get through to the individual. The tool you may want to check out using, again, is it cool? Is it creepy? I can see arguments both ways. Is a thing called Crystal Knows. So Crystal is in the gem, KNOWS.com. And so here's how Crystal Knows works. You can plug someone's name into this system, and it may be someone you're looking to hire into your team, or it might be someone you're looking to engage with in your team, and you're trying to manage and lead and you can't get through to them, or it could be a potential sales prospect you're trying to connect with. Pop their name into this system. In a few nanoseconds, the AI in the back end will scour the web and look at everything that person has liked, shared, or followed online, and come back to you with a bit of a cheat sheet of the best way to connect with that person, to motivate them, to lead them. And again, is it cool? Is it creepy? I can see arguments both ways. In fact, maybe jump into the comment thread again. What's your vote? Is this cool or is it creepy? Just put one of those two words in. And I bet we'll have a number of you who think it's pretty cool, but the vast bulk will probably say creepy, because that is the reality for all of us right now. There's some of these tools coming online. The fundamental ethical questions are ones like, just because you can use these tools, should you? And these will be questions we're all going to have to grapple with over the next few years in some pretty significant ways. But if you think about what's happening in terms of the future of the workforce, particularly how AI plays into that, and we've heard a couple of these tools referenced already, the big story, of course, at the moment is what we're seeing happen with generative AI. And the most common tool is ChatGPT, which many of you have tried out, whether you've tried out the original form or whether you tried out 3.5 or 4.0. We have seen a lot happen even in the last few months with GPT 4.0, which is Omni. The O stands for Omni. And when this was rolled out, the significance of this new model is huge. But it's not just ChatGPT and what OpenAI are producing. Here's a bit of a snapshot of some of the models right now that as I'm working with clients, these are the generative AI models being used the most, that are giving the most value for businesses, particularly small to medium-sized businesses who don't have hundreds of staff to help shoulder the load. So they're often doing multiple things, carrying multiple loads, wearing multiple hats. These tools can be really, really helpful. So if you haven't seen a few of these, you may want to check out Perplexity and also Claude. These are both incredibly clever tools. Copilot is an interesting one because what Copilot does is it works within the Microsoft suite. So if you're using Word or PowerPoint or Excel, it's a tool that works like a Copilot. And there was a bit of a back and forth from in a Salesforce event earlier this week where basically Copilot was slammed as being like nothing better than the old version of Clippy with a bit of AI mixed in. If you remember Clippy, that was the thing that would pop up and help you write documents years ago, and it was sort of useless. Some are saying that Copilot is much better than that. I think that's a little bit harsh. But even Salesforce, and what was announced this week, is their own AI tool that will work within the Salesforce platform. Not a lot of detail as to how it'll work yet, but there's a lot coming even in that space. So this is a bit of a sense of the landscape with AI and what it means for the future of the workforce and what our daily roles and jobs look like. But the question we've got to be asking really carefully right now, and as I'm working with clients, this is front of mind at the moment, is it's easy to get distracted by all the bells and the whistles, all the cool stuff that these AI models can do, and not actually step back and go, but are they useful? Are they sensible to invest money and time in? Because there's got to be a strategic or a business case involved if you're going to invest time and energy and money in these tools. And I'd suggest the best way to think about AI and where it fits into your business or your own role personally over the next few years is if it's going to be worth investing in, it's got to be at least one of these two things. It needs to either be a painkiller or a multivitamin. So if it's a painkiller, it's going to be an AI tool that solves headaches for you. It makes things simpler. It deals with all the bureaucratic faff that you're spending a lot of time and energy on that isn't adding value right now. As Hugh said before, so many salespeople are spending time and energy doing stuff that isn't actually adding value to the business. So hopefully AI starts to solve some of those headaches. That's if it's a painkiller. If it's a multivitamin, it gives you superpowers you didn't have before. Allows you to do things you couldn't do without those AI tools. And a piece of research that's put some numbers around what this looks like practically, again, painkiller versus multivitamin, was some research released by the crew at McKinsey's a few months ago. I would highly recommend you get a copy of this report because it looks at a pilot of different industries and many of the industries represented on this call today, I suspect. And because McKinsey's website is a bit of a dog's breakfast, there's a lot on there. I'm going to give you a QR code for this report. I would highly recommend you scan this, download it, and just sit with a coffee and digest this, because this will give you the business case for generative AI. Where should we be investing right now in terms of time and energy with these tools? And where are we already seeing businesses get a lot of value from them, as opposed to all the pie in the sky techie stuff? What's the business case? And when you do scan this, if you just scan it and download it, I'd highly recommend you keep an eye out for this graph here. It's going to be tricky to read on the screen. What this graph does, though, is that actually breaks down different business functions for most organizations and gives you some dollar figures on where the best value is being either added in terms of extra value creation or saving time and energy. And I'll tell you what the head ones are. The top ones are marketing and sales, the biggest benefits right now. Then we see HR and then supply chain and inventory management. So for a lot of corporates, those are three areas where AI is causing a huge increase in value or time saving right now. And in terms of what this looks like practically, some of the clients I'm working with, how they're seeing this play out, just to give you a bit of a sense of what this means for the future of the labor market and organizations and our roles. A couple of good examples of this, what Coles have begun doing in the last few months. They're now using generative AI to monitor the 40,000 comments made every week about Coles and their stores, either online, on review sites, on social media. I mean, you cannot keep a tab on that without some form of AI synthesizing that massive data set and then coming to you with sensible ideas and strategies for what you can do to improve the customer experience. So Coles are a really good example of this. Then you look at what we're seeing happen in the medical arena right now. And I spoke a few months ago at the RAC GP annual conference. This is the conference of all the general practitioners around the country. And what's happening with technology in doctors' practices is incredible right now. So one of the tools I learned about there is this one called Lyrebird. Another one is called Heidi, as in the girl's name. Heidi is actually comes out of a company based in Perth. And what they're developing is AI tools that operate ambiently in a doctor's surgery. So as you're having the consult, if you sign on, and most people are happy to because the security is incredibly good with these tools. It needs to be, as you'd expect. These actually listen in. They don't just transcribe what's been said during the doctor's consult, but these AI tools will then draft up letters to specialists, even some of the prescriptions you may need, and then do a summary that can get sent to you afterwards, because so often people leave the doctor's surgery and like, I remember they said I've got to do this, this, and this, and take a tablet once a day or 2 times a day, or a couple of ideas they had for preventative steps I can take, but I can't remember all the details now. You get sent that afterwards. And the GPs are loving this. Why? Because they are exhausted. If any of you know a GP, they are flat out, and most of the time is spent doing bureaucratic stuff, filling in client documentation, writing letters to specialists. This starts to take some of that load off them. And so this is, again, great examples where we're seeing this tool being used to help professionals who are busy and flat out. Organizationally, another cool example of where AI is sort of giving a sense of the possibility here is a company called Retina Visions. And Retina Visions is cool because what they're doing is they're revolutionizing the maintenance for local councils. And of course, depending on what part of the country you're dialing in from, we've had a lot of rain over the last few years. The roads have copped a pounding. Most road surfaces, we've got potholes all over the shop. Trying to stay on top of that is difficult for local councils. So what Retina Visions has done is it's allowed them to strap on the front of garbage trucks these little AI-powered cameras. And these cameras, as a garbage truck goes around an area emptying the bins each week, these cameras identify areas of predictive maintenance. Whereas the road surface starting to get a little bit cracked. How do we get onto that before it becomes a pothole? I mean, at the moment, most times councils don't know there's an issue until a car like disappears into the pothole, never to be seen again. So how do we get in front of that? And so again, these are simple examples of where AI very practically right now is either being a painkiller or a multivitamin. But truly every industry is grappling with this. How do we use these tools sensibly and strategically? One of my favorite examples of the power of AI in changing day-to-day work is in the fortune cookie industry. Okay, follow me here. I had to laugh when I read this a little while back. Apparently there's only 5 or 6 companies that make fortune cookies globally. Of those, half of them are now using AI to write the little fortunes in a fortune cookie. Very efficient, very scalable, not like massively authentic. The tricky thing is a little bit hit and miss in terms of what these models are actually producing. Exhibit A up on the screen of just how hit and miss some of what these models are producing is. And I think what this goes to show is that as clever as AI gets, it's still going to require adult human supervision for a little while yet. And so we are seeing across a pile of industries, certainly that I'm working in right now, this is front of mind. What role does AI play practically, ethically, strategically? But the big thing I'm coming up against right now is leaders who are saying, okay, I can see what we need to do, but either my team are unwilling to embrace it, they just see this as a threat, or some cases it's the opposite. I'm dealing with specialist people in roles in the middle management. They're like, I can see where we need to change, but my boss is just so close-minded. All they think of is AI as a threat. They just think of like the Terminator movies and they're like, I don't want a bar of it. And we're missing so many opportunities that our competitors are getting on board with. And so right now, the question for a lot of the clients I'm working with, I don't think it's for all of us, is how do we mentally gear up for a world that is moving so quickly? And a researcher who's done the best work looking at this over the last 2 decades, he's based at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, is a guy named Philip Tetlock. And Philip Tetlock, if you haven't heard of him, wrote a great book a little while ago I'd highly recommend you get a hold of called Super Forecasting. And in this book, Tetlock essentially summarizes 2 decades of his research looking at why some leaders and organizations gear up well for the future, why other organizations and leaders get caught off guard and often pay a very hefty price. In some cases, go out of business because they don't identify the trends that are coming and get ready for them. And the quote that I guess summarizes the thesis, the central idea of this book from Tetlock is this quote here. He says, the essential factor in being future fit is not intelligence. It's not about being the smartest person. It's about being relentlessly curious. It's about having a posture of openness, of humility, being willing to rethink assumptions about the way business is, the way things should be. And yet the challenge is the longer you go on in business, the more success you've had. I mean, success has an intoxicating effect. You can start to think that you've arrived, you've got the winning formula, and you go from being curious to being overly certain or overly confident, and just how dangerous that can be. And the old saying is so true. The moment you think you've made it, you've passed it. And so how do we make sure we all stay within that posture of humility, openness, curiosity? But also, if you're a leader, how do you persuade others around you to be willing to change as times and needs evolve? And that's really been the central theme of my research for the last 6 or 7 years, looking at the psychology of stubbornness. Now, why don't smart people change? Even when they want to, even when they know they should, even when they know all the benefits of changing and embracing new approaches and new technologies, why do we so often as humans dig our heels in? And how do you avoid that trap yourself? But also how, if you're in a leadership role, how do you try and help others not become obstinate or stubborn or overly certain and lack the curiosity necessary to adapt? And the interesting thing, when you look at the psychology around stubbornness and an unwillingness to change, you'd be unsurprised to learn that the key emotion that drives stubbornness is fear. But what might surprise you, and it certainly surprised me as I started to dig into the neuroscience stuff around this, is the fear that keeps us stubborn is not the fear of change. And we've been told for years that humans are just inherently afraid of change. That's why we don't adapt. That's why we don't move with the times, why we get left behind as the world around us changes, which is we just don't like change as humans. That's part of the human condition. That's not actually true. If you look at some of the neuroscience research, even in the last 10 years around why it is that we get obstinate or stubborn, it's not that we're afraid of change. You know what we're afraid of? And this is so vital for any leader listening in today, trying to persuade teams to change or consider change. It's not the fear of change that we have, it's a fear of loss. The moment there's loss involved, that's when we get stubborn. Even when deep down we know that we should change, we find it hard to. And this touches on some of the themes that Hugh just shared in that previous session. And if you want to look at the 3 losses that most commonly cause us to not change or cause people to be resistant to a change agenda that you might be suggesting to them, 3 losses of this, you need to be super aware of this. The first one is a loss of certainty. You know, what's interesting is humans love that sense of certainty. And in an era where things are moving and changing very fast, it is tempting to cling to what we know, to cling to what feels true and certain, because it always has been. The problem is, if you're not careful, you can find yourself sort of in a mode where you're trying to find new treasure using an old map, you know, constrained by thinking and certainty, things that worked in the past because they were true in the past, but as the world changes, those assumptions may no longer be true in the future, and yet we cling to them because they feel like certain ground. And the interesting thing is, and the psychology around this you'll probably relate to, is this idea that humans will often choose unhappiness over uncertainty. And that's incredibly significant because we'll often stick in relationships or jobs or ways of operating that suck, that we don't like, that aren't even working for us, but the devil you know is better than the one you don't. And so, certainty is something that is so alluring to our brains because we love that feeling of safety that comes with certainty, even though actually deep down we know that times have changed and we also need to. So that loss of certainty is huge. The second loss that causes us to be stubborn is a loss of confidence. The idea that if you want me to step into the unknown, do I feel like I've got the skills and the ability to flourish in that new environment? I was working with a client recently. They're a big retail brand, and they had spent a huge amount of money developing a new back-end system for their retail sales force. And that had the same retail back-end system for well over 2 decades. This thing was ancient, and it didn't allow them to integrate with social media or to develop real-time coupons for sales campaigns. And so they knew they had to update it. So they updated this amazing new back-end sales system. They released it to their sales team, expecting everyone to go, this is awesome. It's just what we've been waiting for. But that wasn't the response at all. In fact, by and large, people said, we hate the new system. Can we go back to the old one? Even though they all knew it sucked, even though they didn't like it and it didn't allow them to do anything they needed to do in a modern era. And it was interesting chatting with the leadership team at this retail brand. Their complaint was, we've spent so much money and time on this new system and our people are just so resistant. They just don't want to change. What's wrong with them? When you start to dig a little bit behind what was going on, the psychology around this, the reason they didn't like the new system wasn't because logically they didn't know the new system was much better than what they'd had, but they didn't really know how to use it. The gap was the company had spent all the time selling the benefits of the system without actually showing people how to use it well. And because people felt unconfident, out of their comfort zone using the new system, they wanted to retreat to what they knew. And so that lack of confidence, that loss of feeling sure that we know how to do things, that loss of confidence can be a huge trigger for stubbornness. And the last one is equally big, and that is a loss of dignity. The moment we feel like we might lose face, that by changing our mind or changing our ways that we'll be embarrassed, it's amazing how we'll dig our heels in. Now, we've got to give, if we're trying to persuade our teams, we've got to give them the ability to change their mind without having to admit they're an idiot for holding the view they held previously. And yet so often we back people into that sort of a corner where that their dignity feels so affronted they can't change their mind because it's too embarrassing to do so. But even for all of us as individuals, you've got to get to a point where you decide, do I want to be right or save face? Because you can save face and be wrong, not move with the times, but you'll pay a huge price for doing so. I love this insight from one of the original, the OG futurists back in the 70s. Many of you will have heard of him before. A guy named Alvin Toffler, in his book Future Shock, wrote this. He said, the illiterate of the future will not be those who can't read and write. They'll be those who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. That willingness or ability for all of us to step back from our assumptions, to be curious enough to question things, and then to relearn new ways, new approaches, new systems, new technologies, that is going to be essential for all of us in the next few years, not just for us, but for our teams as well. Now, I'm mindful of the clock. I'm going to pass back to Adrian in just a couple of moments. What I'll do before we finish up, I'll just pop my details on the screen. Look, feel free to connect online. On my website, there's a whole stack of stuff that could be useful, book reviews, blog posts, video posts, and the like. That QR code is for my LinkedIn profile. So if you are on LinkedIn, many of you are watching live on LinkedIn. But if you are on LinkedIn, if you want to connect there, what I do every morning at 8:45 a.m. is I do a daily update. And that daily update is whatever I've seen come through overnight. So any new technology announcements, any new data that has come to light. So if you want to keep on top of this stuff, because it's obviously moving very quickly right now, just scan the QR code, connect on LinkedIn, and I'm just keeping an eye out each morning, 8:45, you'll just see that pop up in my feed. So hopefully that's helpful. The only other thing, in case it will be of use, I had a book came out a couple of months ago looking at a lot of this research around the psychology of stubbornness. Why don't, again, smart people change? What is it that goes on inside our heads that causes us to get mind stuck or stubbornly resistant? But if you're in a leadership mode and you're trying to get other people to consider change, how do you do that ethically in a way that gives other people that sense of agency and choice in the process? Because if people don't feel they've got a choice, they won't change. And so there's a lot of tactical, principle-driven stuff in this book around how to do that well. So I'll just put a QR code on the screen. That's just the Amazon link for that. So Amazon's probably the easiest place to get it, or your local bookshop or whatever. So feel free to check that out, because there's a lot of very tactical, strategic stuff in there that could be useful if you're trying to get people across the line and willing to change. But as we do finish up today, I wanted to leave you with a quote. What I love about this particular quote is that firstly, it's really old. In fact, it's 2,600 years old, which is ancient in anyone's books. But I reckon this quote is more relevant today than ever. And it's a quote from the great Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, who was famous for saying this. He said, resisting change is a little bit like trying to hold your breath. Even if you are successful, it's not going to end well. Okay, and that'd be my simple encouragement to you, that I get it, the pace of change around us is often overwhelming. What we cannot do is fight this stuff or ignore it. All we can really do is gear up. So hopefully that's been a good chance to look at some of the things coming, but also mentally and strategically how to get ready for the stuff that lies ahead for all of us. So I'll pass back to Adrian. Thank you so much.
Mr. McQueen, well done.
Thank you, mate.
That was very insightful. You read more than any other person I've ever met in my life. And we have been on holidays together, and you've got a stack of books, or I at least see you updating when you go out on your boat or on a holiday. There's like 27,000 books. How do you do this? How do you find these books? Why do you consume so much?
So I think the mode I'm typically, I was chatting to someone about this morning. As a speaker, I tend to not be the message. I feel like I'm the messenger. I'm like a journalist. So I read really widely, and what I try and do is synthesize complicated things and make them simple. That's really, I guess, if I had to pick one superpower that I've got, something that I naturally do, it's that. And so I read widely. I try and synthesize and communicate it in a way that's useful, without like it's how do you be simple without being simplistic? Because life is complex, but simple is where there's real value. So that's always been what I do. So I'm like, for me, that insatiable curiosity is just a part of my makeup. So I read widely because, to me, it's just a necessary part of the process. And following that breadcrumb trail, I read one book, I'll reference 2 or 3 others. I read those 2 or 3 others, and I read the ones they reference, and it all sort of goes from there.
You're amazing. Well, there's lots of love. There's Laurie saying, Michael, always amazing. Thank you. We've got Vandana saying, so insightful. Dr. Rhyme or Rim is, thank you, Michael. Mate, you're a force to be reckoned with and an incredible human being. Not only knowledgeable, but very generous and very kind. And I very much appreciate your friendship in my life over a long period of time.
Likewise.
And so thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We've hit time, so I won't do Q&A, but I will say this, that if you do have questions, you can just add them to the comments in the LinkedIn event. And if you tag, whether it's Michael or Hugh or coming up now as Laura, I'm sure they'll see them and be happy to respond to them. So make sure you go and check out Michael's website. Make sure you go and read his book, Mind Stuck. That's going to help you not be those ignorant people that are unhappy because they don't want to be uncertain. Is that the word? It was unhappiness over uncertainty.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I'm going to remove you from the stage now and bring on our next speaker.